Hello, it's C.J. Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Across the Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana, and I'm out taking a walk. Uh, basically, I returned to the gym for the first time today in a couple of weeks. Just, I go usually when my friend Mike goes. And every once in a while we just feel like, hey, you got to take a break or whatever. But I'm super excited because, I started cruising around last November. I took a cruise with my friend Jay, and even before I had taken that cruise, I knew that I was going to like cruising so much that I had looked ahead and paid for some, a cruise going out of Miami at the end of that following February, which was the February that we just ended, and it was that last weekend of February. And so what I did was I gradually added on to that trip, which was, it ended up being about 3 weeks worth of trips, 21 days. Collectively, but they were like six mini cruises on the same ship. I was looking at the companion ship, the Sunrise, that goes out of Miami, looking ahead for the trip that I want to take around the same time next year. And what I realized, because I was comparing the ship Carnival Conquest, which I liked, to the Sunrise, which I've not been on. But comparing their itineraries, and for about the same price as a 3 or 4 day trip, splitting that week up, the 3 day is the same as the 4 day. On Conquest, but I can get 5 days for the same price as I could get a 3 day or a 4 day, so roughly 3.5 days. So I can get 5 days for the same price. Now, I'm an economist. What I did realize is that the scheduling that I was looking at, some of those trips were round trips, and some of them were one-way trips, meaning there's a one-way and then it turns around and makes a return trip, but it's a return trip. Now, I can travel outside of the US on a cruise ship with the manifest that is going from the one port and coming back to the same American port. I do not need a passport, but I would need a passport to take a one-way trip that goes from Miami, maybe goes one way to Aruba, and then even if it's gonna re-embark on the same day and come back, I would need, because of the manifest, the way the manifest reads it, it's a one-way trip. So for that one-way trip, even if I'm going to turn right around and take a one-way trip right back, even if I'm going to do that, what I'm going to need is a passport. So I have decided that instead of taking 3 weeks worth of a vacation, maybe what I'll do is I'll scale back and I will take 2 weeks of a vacation in around February of 2027 and use the extra money to buy my passport. And that way, you know, it's really going to open things up for me. If I want to go other places, I can do that, you know. So, yeah, yeah. If I want to just have a little bit easy, and everybody just kind of advises that anyway. Just do that, you know. Uh, so I'm unsure what the rules are. I don't know if I could take the one-way trip, and it's going to turn right around and come back if I didn't get off. But I feel like if the manifest says it's a one-way trip on this particular cruise, I feel like the rules would be that I would need the passport. So I'm going to go ahead and get a passport. Yeah, I'll look into it, but what the hell? I'll just take one less cruise, and then I'll be able to get the passport. What does that mean for me? Well, maybe one day I want to take a trip and I want to go to Greece. That's not something that I can do without saving up a hell of a lot of money. But I don't know. Maybe I want to do that. I don't know. You know, why not? Then I could go there, and then usually those trips that go, you know, the transatlantic trips that go across, they're usually a one-way trip anyway. And then what has to happen is you have to buy another trip coming back. So it's different than going around to the Bahamas and then coming back to the same port as listed on a 3 or 4 day manifest, because they go down to like one privately owned island that, you know, yeah. So yeah, that's what this is the mind that I have that I go back and forth over what to do. The resolution is simple. I need a passport, and I think I've never had reason to get a passport, so I've never looked into it. But I think what I've got to do is I think I can get it from the post office. I live downtown here in Shreveport, so it should be easy to find out how to go about getting a passport. And there you go. That's it. Okay. There's people sitting out in front of the coffee shop. Let me just walk slowly and softly. Give me just a second. So, one of the things that has me excited as I'm walking around downtown beautiful Shreveport, which is across the river from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana, is that I had come back from the gym tonight. Now that's something I would do. Check this. Flash Gordon. I don't know when that movie's playing. I'll check it out. That's a movie I'd go see. I know it's a classic from the early 1980s or whatever. Starring Sam J. Jones or Sam Jones, whichever. But it was a good ass movie. It was great. So, you know, it was, you know, great. I loved it. And the soundtrack. I was aware of Queen, the band Queen, for two reasons. One was the song and the lead in We Will Rock You, and later paired with We Are the Champions. I was aware of that song when I was a real little kid, and then the other one was the Flash Gordon soundtrack. When I was just becoming aware of, like, when I was just getting my musical sensibilities, you know, and so I was more aware of the soundtrack than I actually was of the movie, you know, and but yeah, I remember that. I would go see that. I'm always looking for something to do with some buds or something like that. So maybe I could link up with some of my friends and maybe say, hey, why don't we go see this movie, Flash Gordon? I'll have to check back with you on that, if I'm going to do that or not. But yeah, I'm excited. I've never had a passport before, so that's something. If you're like me and you've never had the need for a passport, so you don't really know how to get a passport or whatever, but you've ever been curious, I will talk about my process and what it takes to get a passport when I get around to doing it. I think what I'm probably going to do is I have my finances I have earmarked. Some of it's my break. I pay my bills, and then what's left over is what I get to, obviously food and stuff, and then what I can afford out of that is my entertainment budget, and it's never much. And that's one of the things that I like about cruises, is that I can pay ahead or plan ahead for it or whatever. So, hang on. Yeah, so there was somebody outside on the street, and I wanted to get far enough away that I didn't quite get them in my video, whatever. I don't like to get people in my videos without permission. It's one thing if we're out like a big, like if it's a public kind of space and everything like that, and someone incidentally walks into frame or something like that. But I don't want to go around and peep people out. I want to check out the time frame on this, if there's no notice on when this downtown library might reopen again, but it has been closed since 2022. So they've been reworking it for 4 years. But actually, the damage happened over COVID. So they closed it, and then during the time that they closed it, there was some damage to the roof that caused flooding inside the building, and they lost a lot of, but it's a great resource, a public library, and we need one in our community, So I'm a reader. I'm an avid reader, and I loved the convenience. That's one of the things that drew me to wanting to live downtown. And of course, we don't actually have a library down here anymore until that one gets reopened. So, okay, let me pause so I get a little closer to the river. Okay, so as I'm coming up to the Texas Street Bridge, that has LED lights over it and everything like that. I'm still a block or so away from the river, but let me about it. What I think this video is basically going to be about, I think it's going to be about careful money management. I am someone who does not have a lot of extra money. I live in a rent-controlled apartment. It helps, but if I'm careful and plan ahead, I have found that I get to do the occasional vacation, It's my reward for myself for the fact that I quit smoking. I don't know why I need a reward. You're not supposed to smoke, but I quit smoking. And it's like, yay. So I'm going to, I did it initially because I wanted to take a cruise, my first cruise. And I found that I liked cruising. And it's an affordable way to take a vacation, because if you think about taking a vacation and going someplace like, oh, well, if I wanted to go to Kansas City or Branson or something like that, I would have to pay about the same amount for the same quality of a room that I get on the casino, a nice comfortable mattress and everything like that. I would have to pay about the same amount of money that I pay for on a budgeted cruise. And it's easier if I have someone go with me because we can share the cost. But if I pick it right, then I can find an affordable cruise anyway. Not right in the middle, not in the height of tourist season, a little off season, get a little cheaper, And but yeah, some other things that I like to do is, some other things that I like to do are, I like art, so I like art supplies and everything, so I try to make art every once in a while. Not all the time, just whenever it strikes me. And usually what I do with those, traffic's a little weird down here tonight. Usually what I do with that is I keep the art at home. If I do give it away to somebody, it's fine. Sometimes I'll sell them, but only for maybe enough money to replenish my art supplies, which, it keeps what I do kind of at a minimum. If I just sat around doing paintings all day long and became like a canvas, a factory of putting paint on a canvas or something like that, then it would become a job, and it would become a responsibility, and the joy of it and the serenity that I get from it would be taken away, So hang on. Curious, it's kind of live underneath the river tonight, underneath the bridge tonight. Normally there's not anything open down here. And it's about 10:30. So, but that was the G spot, and they were playing music, and people were hanging outside and everything, and so. But you never know. There's always like some unexpected events. You never know what's going to pop up. I'm excited because Saturday, May the 2nd, is National Free Comic Book Day. We go to Excalibur here in town, and we get the free promotional comic books that kind of gets everybody like invigorated and gets them interested. And at the same time, that same day, I go in with the list of books that I want to get, that I know that have been out, and I pretty much try to buy them all at the same trip and everything like that, So I'm excited for that. And I don't even sit around reading comic books all the time. I just think that they're really fun, to have and collect. And there's a nostalgia for me for the early to mid 1980s, when I did a lot of comic book collecting as a child, in elementary school even. And until I got into, I want to say, at some point, we moved away from the mall, the Mall St. Vincent. It was St. Vincent Mall, but we call it Mall St. Vincent, whatever. But there was a drugstore, KB Drug, and they had a comic book rack, and I used to buy my comics there. And then that drugstore closed down, and when it did, I didn't have a place to buy comics, so I just basically just stopped collecting comics, and I started getting into more adult reading, you know, horror novella, paperback kind of stuff, you know, the occasional sizzling pulp porn book that I was not supposed to read, you know, but, you know, naughty stewardesses getting it on or whatever, I don't know. But but there wasn't a place to get comic books, and so I just kind of got over the comic books, you know, but rediscovered my passion for them later on. And then of course now we have Excalibur, which is our comic book store in town, so I can go there, and it's kind of like, it's changed, you know. There was a time when comic books were everywhere you went. Even in bookstores, they don't really have the comic books in the traditional sense that they had when I was growing up. They'll have graphic novels occasionally, but you really won't get, like, say, your typical Superman comic book or your this or that or anything. And I guess they still have those, but it's just there's not a place where I can just go to every month and just say, hey, let me get my my favorite comic books this month or something like that. You know, it's different. It's and so in a way, it's a little bit more special, you know, when I go to our convention, which is GeekCon, and I look around for the different little comic book stores that they have. A lot of people will come from out of town and they'll bring their collections to sell, but also Excalibur comes and is one of the major sponsors of the event and everything, and I like to support local whenever I can, so I do make sure to try and buy from Excalibur, you know. But yeah, what they did not have a couple of seasons ago was the DC Comics version of Little Shop of Horrors, you know, which I did buy when it first came out. Before I even knew the movie, before I knew that they were making the movie, the corresponding comic, I just happened to be at that drugstore I told you about, KB Drug, and saw the comic Little Shop of Horrors, brought it back, read the comic book, and then of course I started to see the Steve Martin as Orange Scrivello DDS in that video where he was the dentist, and that video played on MTV. Okay. Why not? I would say it's not your typical MTV video, but Steve Martin also had a hit a few years before that called King Tut, that I think he did as sort of a skit on Saturday Night Live or stage, you know, whatever. But so that played. It was a full-on song, you know. So yeah, and of course Steve Martin is a expert banjo player, you know. Didn't know that. But yeah, Excalibur did not have Little Shop of Horrors. I actually had to order it. And I was ordering the comic books of V, about the aliens from the 1980s, the reptilian aliens that wore disguises that made them look human. They were masked, so to speak, but enough to pass. There was some sort of, you know, alien thing or whatever. And I guess in the reboot, they actually made it living skin grafted on, you know, which, whatever. So, weird. So now, look at this. For a while when I was coming down here, the fountains were not turned on, and now they are. So we're moving into summer, people are going to be able to splash in the fountain. Have fun. And you literally can come down here in your swimwear and have fun splashing around, cooling off in the fountain. I think it looks beautiful at night. Living within my means, I still find that with consideration and looking forward and tightening of my budget from time to time, that I can save up and I can do some of the things that I want to do. So, in that sense, it's a good thing that I have to look ahead and plan ahead for little trips and vacations and stuff. I can't just like at the drop of a hat say, gee, I think I want to go here and there. No, I've got a plan for it. Got to. Something else though is that as I'm planning or something like that, you know, there's always something else that comes along that I want to do, and I can't do everything that I would want to do. I don't know too many people who can do everything that they'd ever want to do. Yeah, I guess there must be some people who can just, you know, don't have to worry about finances. Well, I do have to be concerned about finances, and so I do have to be considerate about the extras in life. You know, I have to make choices, and I can prioritize those based upon my mood. So if right now my goal is to take a trip in 2027 and go around you know, the Caribbean or something like that, then well, then that's okay. You know, something else that I could do is I could make a combination trip. I could do some Caribbean cruising and combine it with one of the shorter cruises that go around the Bahamas or something like that. But say something happens and I want to maybe upgrade around the apartment, you know, then I get to prioritize and say, you know what, I think I want to back off on that plan so that I can do something else. Such as I can make the decision to scale back on the size of the trip that I want to take so that I can afford to take so I could afford the passport that I want to get, which would open up my possibilities of traveling a little better. So there. I've talked myself into it. And there are lots of fun things that can happen on a cruise, you know. But aside from that, a passport means that if I wanted to take an extended trip and go visit Australia, you know, those are the types of cruises they let you look at a couple of years in advance, and I can make payments and things like that. I can, you know, and it helps to have a goal to look forward to in life. It helps to have some excitement to look forward to, like, you know, and so that's why I think enjoyment is an essential part of any life that is to be well lived, regardless of day-to-day responsibility. Whether you're a single person like me living on a modest budget, whether or not maybe you're a family man and you've got to take care of a family, so you don't have a lot, at any given time. You can plan ahead and take, and save up for and say, hey, we're going to do all this. And the key is to not just sit around and talk. The key is to take some initiative, put something forward and say, this is what I'm going to do. Make it, if it can't be top priority, put it in your list of higher priorities and start to actuate a plan. Don't just sit around and dream about it, but actuate a plan. I got this lesson from my friend Jay, who said that he doesn't sit around and talk about all the things that he wants to do. He gets up and he does them, and sometimes he can do them with a much bigger budget than I have, and then sometimes his budget is scaled back, not nearly as scaled back as I am, but I mean, yeah. So but that's the lesson that I got from really positive associations, So if I didn't have these things to look forward to in my life, I don't know that I wouldn't be having as much fun, and life would not be as full as it is. And I will say that I have a pretty full and happy life right now. Wonderful friends, beautiful associations, and I say beautiful not in the aesthetics sense of the word, but in the emotional sense of the word. I have people that enrich my life in ways that I didn't know was ever going to be possible when I was much younger, But for me, it was a trade-off. I had to give up certain obsessions, certain addictions, that type of stuff, the drug use and everything like that. Had to go. Because all those things were blocking me from really, what was I? I was just like down on myself, and everybody else could, I don't know, I was just mad and envious of everybody that I came across. And then I was used up and couldn't even, get drugs to get high and everything. And that was, that was a long time ago, So that's not my life anymore, And when you're an addict and you're dried up, you're done, like, yeah, you were finished, even in the drug world. If you don't have the cheddar, and if you don't have the means to get the drugs, then your friends or your associates or whatever, they're gone, because those friends and associations were never true. They were never real in the first place. Now, there's something else that I want to talk about. And this is a second topic, I guess, not just about budgeting my money, but just being aware of the fact that some people that we have enjoyment with in our lives are here for a season or a few seasons. They come in, they spend some time with us, we have our exchanges, and then they go and they move on. Some people are like that, and not people, but I mean some associations. It's not even like an act of the people. It's just some people are meant to be seasonal people in my life, and then there are those people that are lifelong associations and family and good friends that I'm going to have. When I meet them, they're going to be here. And it's easier to maintain those things today Hey, let me step over here to the casino for a moment. I'll be back. Let me pause the video. No, I'm not going to gamble. I'm going to borrow their restroom facilities. Okay, but anyway, yeah, I mean, some people are here to be for the long haul, and then we can exchange phone numbers. It's a lot more easier. It's a lot easier to keep track of people today, and to keep in touch and nurture those relationships. So, but they still require work. They still require contact. They still require a little bit of maintenance. Any sort of relationship, no matter how wonderful it is, if it's worth having, it's going to take a little maintenance. You're going to have to reach out and do those contacts, and I try to do that. Oh, wow. I love this song. All right. So Mike is one of those such friends I feel like I'm going to be. Yeah, he's local in Shreveport. I'm local in Shreveport. I'm not moving out of town or out of state. And I don't think he is anytime soon. Neither one of us. So that's cool. We're going to be friends for a while. We have been, and I feel like we're going to continue to be. And we're the kind of friends that every once in a while, life will get busy for either one of us. And maybe we'll go a few months without communicating with each other or something like that. But we always find our way back. It's a tried, true, tested friendship. So anyway, we were planning on taking some sort of trip, but we decided to postpone it because, well, I'm always the one, hey, let's go take a trip, let's go do something, But yeah, it's just right now he's a tradesman and he's his own boss basically. He sublets and works for people and everything like that, and basically kind of sets his own schedule. But when the work is good, you stay and you work when the work is good. We do with you guys, and then you take a trip and everything like that. You wait until you have a lull, until it slows down, and you say, okay, now I could take that trip. So we were thinking of taking a trip, but then decided, hey, we're gonna wait until it's a more convenient time, so that's kind of cool. But so sometimes staying within your budget also means budgeting your time, and having to not get everything that I want right in this moment gives me a sense of anticipation that's excitement and hopeful and fun, really. Honestly, it heightens the experience, so I love it. I want to go in November. I want to take a short cruise, but I'm going to need someone to go with me, and so I'm waiting on a friend to tell me if he can go or not before I decide if I can take that trip or not. But it's not just about trips. I want to buy another television set for my bedroom, so that's going to require setting some money aside and everything. So it's like I said, for me it makes, oh, hold on, some music. I just walked through a crowd of people. They're sitting outside of the G Spot. It's a nice hangout downtown. I wanted to exemplify to my friend who talked about, hey, there's never anything to do. Yeah, there is. There's quite a bit of hanging out going on at any given time. Just you're not always aware of it. But I don't drink, so I don't really go to bars too much by myself. Sometimes maybe I'll go and sit and have a drink and listen to whatever's playing, and I'll kind of get an idea of music and stuff. But I don't know. I've kind of graduated and moved on from the bar scene or whatever. So, but Uh, what I was getting at, what I was saying, is that the idea of having to wait instead of everything having to be instant gratification, I've learned to appreciate the anticipation. It's a child who throws a tantrum when he cannot have his way right now in this moment, and then throws his hands up and said, screw it, I guess I just won't do it. It is wise to be able to accept the answer, not now. Because the answer, when the universe or whatever gives us the answer, not now, that doesn't mean never. That means, hey, not now. Perhaps later. Let's see. You know? So sometimes what the mind perceives, especially the mind of a child when he's told something like not now or you know, sometimes the child perceives it as no. And then sometimes not now means simply not now, we're going to do it later, you know, or there's something else we're going to do that's that you're going to like even a little better or something like that. Now, I've already talked about this. I've got a little bit of trauma from being a child and sometimes being given promises when I was a child that really didn't come to fruition. Like, we never got around and we never took that great trip to the Six Flags amusement park over in Dallas. Like we were promised. Well, you know, we wanted to, but then also situations became untenable and my parents separated for a while. And you know, separate parents, you're just really not gonna do things as the family unit, you know? So that just kind of it was something that we never did. But then there were times when my parents were together, because they would separate, reconcile, separate, reconcile. They did that 2 or 3 times that I can recall. And, you know, there are lots of wonderful things that we did do as a family unit that gave me a lot of joy, you know. You know, so what I've learned to do is I've learned to focus on the happy stuff and don't get too caught up in the negative stuff. What am I looking for? I think I'm going to walk down the Blind Tiger Way. I'm just taking a little cruise. The cruise, I'm not cruising. I'm not on a boat. I'm taking a little walk around downtown on foot to see some different things. This psychic reading people, they've been here forever. I've been to a couple of psychics. But I also think someone who's really truly a reader, truly gifted in that realm, they have a sense of spirituality and what's on the other side. If you truly have that sense, then you know that there's a lot more to the physical, and so you're not concerned with charging like $40 for a psychic reading. You just help your friends out. You know, when I get around to people and they're trying to charge money, I don't, in particular, I don't get with that at all. I feel that there's a difference between somebody who has some real true honest intuition and something to share about that versus someone who is trying to make a living out of conning people out of something that just everybody could do or whatever. So if you do something like that, say you want to go see somebody that's we have a lady who's touring. I forget her name. Let me walk down and see if I can find her. No, I'm not going to do that. I think the Long Island psychic or whatever, one of those people, whatever. Anyway, is coming to the municipal auditorium, I think, or whatever, to do readings or whatever, like doing a tour or something like that, whatever. But see, I don't subscribe to monetizing that, you know. I don't know. I find it insincere. You know, just about anyone could do a cold reading. For instance, there's somebody out there right now and somebody on the other side has a message, and it's regarding a name that begins with K, and I want to say the name is Carl or Carla, but I really want to say Carl with a K, not a C, a K. And what is it? Let me take a moment to think about the message. This is yeah, okay. Okay, Carl really wanted you to go fishing with him. He's sorry that he couldn't take you on that fishing trip out into the, you know, we were going to go on the boat or something like that. This is somebody, maybe he's talking to somebody who's a grandchild or a great grandchild or something like that, or whatever. He wishes he could have had that last experience of fishing or something like that. So this is somebody who's done that, who's a fisherman, and it really wasn't about the fishing. It was about spending time with the family. So there's a man who died at a late age in life, and he had a good life because he had love from his family. This was a tight family. This is a family that there's a nice affluence. He's speaking to somebody who had some money and everything like that. So they're not like struggling or anything like that. They're not like country poor or something like that. But they did live in a place where going out and fishing was something that they kind of sort of did. That's somebody that like owned not a yacht or a houseboat or anything like that, but they had a you know, a boat where they could like go out on a lake, maybe do some trout lining and stuff like that. This is some lake fishing, and that they did. Yeah, he wishes he could have gotten that one last trip in, or he would have liked to have had. I don't know if he was expecting to do a trip and then he got sick and couldn't do it, and then he died shortly after. With this, friends and family around, family in particular. But this was a message specifically for someone who is that grandchild figure, that he wishes he would have taken that trip. And I'm getting an image of kind of a eggshell boat with kind of a gray slate or blue kind of trim on it or something like that. So anyway, that's the message. So anyone can do that type of a cold reading. So don't go to someone and pay for a reading. You know, if you go to something like that, do it for the entertainment value, but certainly don't go to live your life around it. And yeah, okay, so. And I don't do cold readings as a psychic or anything like that. I was just demonstrating how it can be done. You never know. But anyway, this is kind of cool. I think I'm going to walk up on this building. Yeah, so this is going to be the new state building. And I've walked by and shown this in various stages of development. Hang on. So here, half of the glass is put up on this side. So, and I ride by this once in a while and see it. So perhaps I'll come around to the back side on the Caddo Street side and look up so you can see what some of the ornamentation of the building, the fixtures or whatever, the ledges or whatever, what they're going to look like. Because it's kind of, they're taking an artistic turn with this one, because this is not your typical state building of yesteryear where it's all built up. It's going to be floor to ceiling glass almost, and then these little ledges around the outside right here are going to kind of be decorative. They'll probably perform some sort of architectural purpose, but they also look very decorative. I've seen the artist rendering, and there's kind of some similarity. A few of the buildings that I've seen developed in my time, and there's an artist rendering, and the artist rendering seldom looks exactly like the building that gets erected, but you know, it's cool enough. So the ledges are coming together, and they're kind of separating off. Yeah, and there's some up there, and there's some down here. And in the artist rendering that I saw, those ledges that come together, to me they look like waves inside of water. I don't know what to say that it reminds me of, except for like movement inside of water. And they come here and they kind of come up there, and that's what it reminds me of. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It looks like the inside of that game Battleship, and has like that blue plastic, but underneath that blue plastic grid there is a paper that kind of shows what's supposed to be water. That's kind of the effect that I'm getting from this. But we have some coming here, separating off. And I thought initially these are going to be a lot wider than what they are. And when I saw the design of it, I'm like, are you certain that those ledges are not just going to attract every kid with the surfer board? I mean, with not a surfboard, but a skateboard. Every kid who has a skateboard is going to want to try to hit those ledges because it looked a lot bigger. Okay, here we are with our near full moon. I know it's hard to make here. Let me go back. It's not quite full, but in another night or so it will be. So it is waxing gibbons. And look! There it is. Money. I will pick up pennies. I mean, I will pick up any money, but I will pick up pennies. I don't care. I've got a bunch of these things that I'm starting to save. I wish I had listened to this dude I met when I was a teenager. So weird. This to show you how weird my life was. Both of my parents worked a lot. And we had a friend of the family. His name was Pat. I don't know. We clicked on our love of horror movies. At the time, he was single. He hadn't yet met his wife. He'd had a wife. He'd been married, had a son and stuff like that. But they were, in New England or something like that. And he had transferred down here to work maintenance at the Piccadilly where my mother worked. So anyway, we befriended each other, became really, really tight, close friends. Because we just, I don't know, one day he called, I answered the phone, we struck up a conversation, and I loved horror movies more than anything at the time. And this because basically when I was a kid, I went to see Friday the 13th, part 1 and part 2 in a drive-in theater with my sister and my older brother, who was my half brother. But we in my family, you're a brother, you're family. If you're a sibling, you're a sibling. There's no half or step to it or anything like that. So he was my brother, but we weren't raised with them, so I didn't have a lot of time with him growing up. But so this was one of a memory of a time that we spent together. And so that fueled my love of horror movies. From there on out, it was like, yay, we watched horror movies. So fast forward a few years, I'm like 14, and I'm just like, hey, horror movies and stuff like that. So, and nobody else really vibes on them the same way that I do. No one really loves these horror movies in the same way that I do. But, I don't know. So, yeah, Pat and I became fast friends over that, and I'd go to his house on weekends, watch horror movies and stuff like that. And then, of course, shortly after that, he got married, had a stepson his name was Gordon. Gordon became like a little brother to me, and his wife Shannon and everything like that. And so, yeah, so for quite a few years, it was like my weekends were spent over at their house, but they lived in an upstairs apartment, and there were 2 downstairs apartments, and the tenants were always coming in and out or something like that. And one guy lived there, 2 dudes lived there in the downstairs apartment or whatever. They were roommates or something like that. And then whatever, this is the kind of places where you lived, where you're starting out in life, and then you move up and you move out or whatever. But anyway, this one guy had like huge long stacks of cardboard boxes, and they were all filled with pennies. And what he said to me, and I was probably about 15 by this point, what he said to me was that his dad gave him some advice and said he should save every penny he ever came across. And his dad told him, the more pennies you have, the more sense you have. So I wish I had taken that to heart back then. Now what we know of, and probably everybody's probably hoarding pennies when they come across it, because we're not really making them anymore. I don't even think, were we pressing pennies? Did we already run out of? I know that we're gonna press until we run out of the copper, and then we're not gonna press anymore. That's what I'm told. So have we already quit making them? I don't know. But when I come across a penny, it's mine. And this one is nothing. It's let's see. (2021). So, I tell you, the penny that's going to be worth something is going to be that penny that's among the last to have been printed and circulated, 25, 26 or whatever. I know that they probably weren't going to do the plates, make new plates. So there probably are some pennies, copper or something like that, that's going to be pressed into pennies using 2025, when in fact it's been 2026. I don't know. Whenever they started, I don't know. Whenever. If they're not going to print more pennies, why would they make updated plates? So anyway, yay. So what do you think? Pennies. Should they circulate because of tradition? And if they do that, see, we already deal with there are some cultures that deal with fractions of a penny. A peso, a coin peso. I gave my friend Lucy my coin, which is a peso. And I have some paper pesos or whatever, but yeah, I wish I had kept that one. But if I go back to Mexico, maybe I can find a peso or something like that. I don't know. That was cool. But It would be kind of neat to collect a little bit of foreign money from the different places that I do get to go when I do get to take trips. But, you know, I feel blessed to do that. So I just topped over 1 hour on the timer. So let me cross the street and get into the light so I can give my goodbyes for the evening. If you've gotten to the end of this video, I want to thank you for staying with me as I walked and talked and checked out a side of Shreveport that's a little bit different than what I normally do. And I just want to say that God bless you, love and light, and have a good night. I love you. Bye. And when I say that I love you, I can say that and I can mean it for the human that you are. We don't have to know each other deeply and intimately in order for me to feel that there's some sort of connection happening and that the love is real and my goodwill for you that I'm wishing is real. Totally sincere. Okay, so bye. Have a good night. I love you.